As the final streetlight on the block dimmed into darkness, yielding to the soft light of daybreak, I, Marcus Bennett, age 42, came to the stark realization that what had held my life together for the past 15 years wasn't love at all, but an intricate tapestry of deception I'd crafted for myself. Welcome to my podcast, where I'm stripping away the facades of my existence, one unvarnished truth at a time. I'm broadcasting from the disorganized confines of my garage in suburban Denver, Colorado, the sole sanctuary where my thoughts can find clarity nowadays. My voice may waver, but bear with me. This tale has sharp edges, and they're about to cut deep. I work as a data analyst at Henderson & Partners, a middling insurance company where I've spent countless years watching the clock tick by. It's the type of environment where innovation withers on the vine. Recently, during a crucial meeting, I presented an innovative risk assessment model that had consumed my nights and weekends for a month. James Henderson, my condescending superior, dismissed it without consideration, then pinned a client disaster on me, despite his decision to ignore my calculations. I endured the collective smirks around the conference table, my hands balled into fists beneath it. No career advancement, no acknowledgement, just another serving of humble pie. But that's merely the tip of the iceberg. Just yesterday, I made the hour-long trek to Boulder to interview with a startup. Their office pulsed with vitality, worlds apart from the dreary maze of cubicles I've grown accustomed to. Sarah Chun, the director, studied me intently across her desk and declared that my portfolio spoke volumes. She recognized potential in me that I'd long forgotten existed. A flicker of optimism stirred in my chest, subtle but undeniable. I desperately wanted to grasp it, to hold on to it, because everything else in my life seemed to be dissolving into thin air. Speaking of life, that brings me to Rachel, my wife. Our paths crossed at a university career fair when I was just a jittery senior struggling with my necktie, while she commanded attention as a dynamic recruiter working the room. Her laughter could captivate an entire crowd, and she possessed a self-assurance I could only dream of. We had our first date at a quaint coffee shop near campus. She accidentally spilled her cappuccino on my shirt, flashed an apologetic smile, and I was completely smitten. Now, that recollection feels like a distant memory from another lifetime. These days, she's a powerhouse in event marketing, constantly traveling, enchanting clients with that same magnetic personality. And me? I'm just the reliable provider, keeping the household running. But recently, I've started questioning who shares her company during those frequent absences. Before I delve deeper into this unsettling narrative, let me make this more personal. I'm curious, where are you tuning in from? Perhaps a dimly lit coffee shop in Portland? A cozy bedroom in Austin? Share your location in the comments section. And if my story has captured your attention thus far, consider hitting subscribe. Your engagement keeps these painful truths flowing. The warning signs emerged gradually. An unexplained missed call here, a work dinner that ran suspiciously late there. Then came the necklace, an elegant silver piece adorned with a sapphire pendant, mysteriously appearing on her dresser one morning. When questioned about its origin, she casually mentioned it was a sponsor's gift and deftly changed the subject. My instincts screamed something was wrong, but I suppressed them, as usual. I've mastered the art of burying my suspicions, a survival skill honed by a childhood marked with trauma and anxiety. My father's departure when I was 6 left an indelible mark. One moment, we were sharing precious father-son moments playing catch in a backyard. The next, he vanished. No explanation, no farewell, just an empty space at our dinner table. Mother insisted he'd abandoned us, and I accepted her version of truth. She found solace in alcohol, her words becoming increasingly bitter and slurred as she stumbled through our home. Her voice still haunts my dreams, hurling accusations through an alcoholic haze, declaring my worthlessness, comparing me to him. I'd seek refuge in my bedroom, studying ceiling imperfections, vowing never to become like either parent. Yet here I am, possibly following their footsteps. Then came the anonymous email last week. No sender name, just a blank field. The subject line was cryptic, check her trips. The message itself was devastatingly concise. Ask Celeste about Bryce. Bryce, her former colleague from the event planning firm. Tall, charismatic, the type who effortlessly commands attention. Our sole interaction at a company gathering left me uneasy, his handshake unnecessarily forceful, his smile calculated. The email's brevity spoke volumes, igniting a wildfire of suspicion in my mind. I remained fixated on that screen until my vision blurred, the pulsing cursor mocking my indecision. Could this be a malicious prank? Perhaps a vindictive ex-lover causing chaos? Or more disturbingly, someone privy to information I've been blind to? Though I deleted the message with trembling fingers, its words remained etched in my consciousness, an endless loop of torment. Sleep has become elusive. Each time Celeste returns home, immaculately presented as always, I question what secrets lurk behind her practiced smile. And yesterday evening, when she arrived late again, softly humming an unfamiliar melody, I detected a masculine fragrance that definitely wasn't mine. So here I am, laying bare my innermost thoughts to you, my unseen confidants in this digital realm. This narrative transcends the typical tales of career struggles or marital discord. It's about that pivotal moment when you realize your carefully constructed reality might be nothing more than an illusion, teetering on the edge of collapse. Stay tuned, because what follows isn't going to be pretty. Hey there, welcome back to the podcast. Nathan Carver speaking, broadcasting from my garage in suburban Denver, where the shadows seem longer and the silence more deafening as I attempt to untangle the chaos my life has become. In our previous episode, I shared that haunting email with those 5 words that keep echoing in my mind. Ask Celeste about Bryce. Though I erased it from my inbox, it's like trying to forget a nightmare that follows you into waking hours. Now, every sound in this house carries whispers of secrets I'm afraid to uncover. Let's continue where we paused, as the story only grows more intense from here. Celeste and I began our journey like a perfect fairy tale. We exchanged vows in a quaint chapel near Aurora, Colorado, with just a small circle of friends witnessing our union as the sun painted the plains in golden hues. Jasper blessed our lives a year later, with cherubic cheeks and wondering eyes, followed by Theo 2 years after, whose laughter could brighten the darkest days. We settled into a modest Aurora home, complete with white siding and an imperfect lawn, but it was our sanctuary. My days were spent analyzing figures at Grayson & Sons, evenings filled with the aroma of Celeste's cooking and our boys' animated chatter over cartoons. It wasn't flawless, but it felt complete, or so I believed. Then came the upheaval, not the meteorological kind, though Colorado sees its share, but the type that creeps in silently before devastating everything in its path. The insurance industry's downer a few years ago marked the beginning. Grayson & Sons reduced hours, halted raises, and I spent countless nights poring over financial statements, struggling to maintain stability. Meanwhile, Celeste's event planning career flourished. She'd leave dressed impeccably in crisp blazers and stilettos, heading to upscale venues, while I juggled parental duties and financial worries. Initially, I accepted it. She excelled in her field, and I believed in our partnership. But gradually, her returns home grew later, and her explanations became increasingly vague. One evening, I discovered a crumpled receipt in her coat pocket while doing laundry. It was for a late-night dinner for 2 at an upscale restaurant in downtown Denver, time-stamped well after midnight. She had claimed to be at a team meeting that night, supposedly preparing for a new client presentation. Standing in a laundry room, with only the dryer's monotonous humming to keep me company, that piece of paper felt like a burning accusation in my palm. When I casually brought it up, she dismissed it with practiced ease. Just entertaining a client, she said, though her eyes darted away from mine. I let it slide, but my insides twisted with a pain that felt physical. The separate bank account came next. I opened it one dreary afternoon at First Colorado Credit Union, deliberately keeping it hidden from our shared finances. Gradually, I began diverting portions of my bonuses, sometimes a few hundred, other times $1,000. I rationalized it as an emergency fund, a backup plan if my job situation deteriorated further. But truthfully, it represented something darker, my silent rebellion against the growing unease that had taken root in my life. Celeste remained oblivious, having always delegated financial matters to me. It's remarkable how trust can act as a blindfold for both parties. The devastating revelation came last week during a rain-soaked evening that seemed to mirror my darkening mood. While I was in the kitchen cleaning dinner dishes, Jasper came home drenched from the downpour. Despite being 16 and taller than me now, he appeared vulnerable, his shoulders slumped beneath his wet hoodie. He hesitated before speaking, absently opening a soda can and leaning against the counter. Then the truth spilled out. He'd taken a shortcut through downtown after practice and stopped at Corner Brew. There he saw Celeste, intimately sharing a booth with Bryce Tanner, her arm draped across his shoulders, his hand resting on her knee. They were lost in their own world, laughing and leaning close. Jasper's voice trembled as he looked at me, his eyes filled with confusion and hurt, asking, "Why don't you do something, Dad?" I stood motionless, dish sponge dripping onto the kitchen floor. My firstborn's gaze pierced through me, heavy with disappointment. I muttered something about misunderstandings before sending him to bed, but his words clung to my conscience like thorns. "Why don't you do something?" Sleep evaded me that night as I sat alone on our living room couch, listening to the relentless rain pound against the roof, mentally revisiting every suspicious late night and deflected question. The following day brought fresh humiliation at work. Victor Grayson summoned me to his office, his face bearing a knowing smirk. "Your wife's been keeping busy," he announced, loud enough for neighboring cubicles to hear. The office erupted in barely concealed laughter while I stood there, cheeks burning, fists clenched, paralyzed by inaction. Once again, since receiving that damning email, I've been scrutinizing her every move. Yesterday, she arrived home after 11, her heels echoing against our hardwood floors as she hummed an unfamiliar melody. She casually dropped her bag on the kitchen counter, offered me a weary smile, and explained that the event had run over time. I nodded silently, but as she passed by, it hit me, a distinct woody fragrance, reminiscent of cedar mixed with smoke, lingering on her jacket. That scent wasn't mine. I never wear cologne. My heart pounded so violently I feared she'd notice. But she simply kissed my cheek before heading upstairs, leaving me alone to grapple with that foreign scent and an overwhelming sense of dread. So here we are, friends. My life is slowly disintegrating, one thread at a time, and the pattern becomes clearer each day. Celeste, Bryce, the deceptions accumulating like drifting snow. While I can't predict what's next, I sense it approaching, heavy and inevitable, like storm clouds gathering over the Rocky Mountains. Stay tuned. This is merely the beginning, and something tells me the situation will deteriorate before any clarity emerges. What's your take? Share your thoughts below, and I'll catch you in the next update. Hey there, Nathan Carver speaking from my garage in suburban Denver, where each breath feels increasingly suffocating. Welcome to the latest installment of my unraveling existence. In my previous update, I left you with Jasper's haunting words, "Why don't you do something, Dad?" and that mysterious cedar smoke scent on Celeste's jacket. 7 days have passed since then, and I've been existing like a man carrying a loaded weapon he's afraid to use. But everything shifted last night. The storm finally broke, and I'm not just talking about the weather. It was well past 10, the house shrouded in darkness, save for the television's ghostly flicker that I barely registered. Outside, a fierce cold front swept in, making the windows shudder while rain lashed against the glass with vengeful intensity. Celeste arrived, her coat showing signs of the downpour, her usually pristine updo beginning to unravel. She tossed her keys onto the counter with a jarring clang, shed her heels, and made a wordless beeline for the refrigerator. I remained frozen, my heart hammering against my ribs as Jasper's revelation and that haunting cologne scent constricted my chest. The pressure became unbearable. Rising to my feet, I managed to keep my voice steady despite its low tone, and said, "We need to talk." She pivoted, water bottle in grasp, fixing me with that familiar look of mingled irritation and disinterest. "About what, Nathan?" she questioned, as if I were merely an inconvenience in her evening. I advanced a step, the floorboard protesting beneath my weight, and declared about Bryce. "About whoever else you're seeing." Her expression remained unchanged initially, save for a momentary flicker in her gaze, before she released a laugh that cut through the air like brittle ice. "Oh, Nathan," she drawled, "you're being ridiculous." But I stood firm, recounting Jasper's sighting of her intimate moment with Bryce at Corner Brew, challenging her to dismiss that as ridiculous too. That's when her facade crumbled. The water bottle met the counter with a resonating thud as she assumed a defensive posture, arms crossed. Fine, she stated flatly. Yes, I've been with Bryce. And someone else, too. It's not a big deal. I just need more than you can give me. My legs nearly gave way, the table becoming my anchor as the room tilted violently, the rain's intensity seeming to mock my distress. When I questioned why, my voice cracking, she merely shrugged. You're safe, Nathan, she pronounced. Steady, but safe's not enough. I need fire, and you're barely a spark. Then came her ultimate blow. Stepping closer, her perfume intermingling with that accursed cedar scent, she delivered her ultimatum. You can deal with it, or I'm gone. Your choice. The threat lay bare in her challenging stare. Though I yearned to unleash my rage, to upend furniture, anything, I remained paralyzed as she brushed past me toward the stairs. The relentless rain continued its assault while I collapsed into a chair, her words carving deep wounds. Safe's not enough. Years of carefully constructing our life together, and she'd incinerated it without remorse. I lost track of time sitting there, but eventually found myself in the basement, desperately seeking anything to numb the pain. That's when I discovered it. A weathered cardboard box tucked behind ancient paint cans, its edges deteriorating with age. Within lay letters, time-stained and fragile, each envelope bearing my name in unfamiliar, tremulous handwriting. My father's penmanship. With quivering hands, I opened one and began to read. Dear Nathan, it began, my departure wasn't voluntary. Your mother forced me out. She had found another, and I was an obstacle. My chest constricted as I devoured page after page, reading a father's desperate pleas to see his child, his unwavering declarations of love. The final letter was dated just weeks before his lonely death in some dilapidated motel room. Surrounded by scattered letters on the frigid basement floor, realization struck me like lightning. Mother had deceived me. She'd crafted him into the story's villain, when she was the true architect of our family's destruction. He wasn't the coward I'd imagined, but a man shattered by betrayal, and I'd wasted years running from a manufactured demon. Above me, Celeste slumbered peacefully, while below, something within me transformed. A dormant fury awakened, smoldering beneath years of passive acceptance. The workplace offered no refuge. Bryce materialized at Grayson and Sons for a client transfer, exuding his typical arrogance. He cornered me near the coffee station, his voice a calculated whisper. How's Celeste managing? He smirked, predatory and knowing. She can be quite demanding, can't she? My grip on the coffee mug turned vicious, but he simply patted my shoulder and sauntered away, leaving me boiling with rage. Victor witnessed the exchange, his knowing smirk accompanied by a warning. Watch her closely, Carver. I wanted to unleash destruction, but restrain myself. For now. So here I stand, confronting an undeniable truth. Celeste's indifference is clear, and I've been naive in my complacency. But these letters, they've ignited something unexpected, and I'm through suppressing the flames. Next time, we're venturing deeper, and I sense an inferno approaching. What's your perspective? Share below, and I'll return soon. Hey, it's Nathan Carver again, broadcasting from my dimly lit garage in suburban Denver, where tonight's atmosphere feels somewhat lighter. Welcome back to the podcast. In our last episode, I shared how Celeste's cold admission had shattered my world, and how those discovered letters from my father had awakened something dormant within me. 3 days have passed since then, and I've been operating at full throttle, completely appending a game whose rules I never knew existed. Prepare yourselves, because this episode takes some unexpected turns. After that revelatory night in the basement, restlessness consumed me. My father's words echoed incessantly. A man who lost everything because he remained passive. I refused to follow that path. The following morning, I embarked on a 2-hour drive to Fort Collins, pursuing a clue from those letters. My cousin, Abigail Porter, awaited me at a roadside diner, her raven hair neatly tied back, radiating warmth through her genuine smile. She embraced me as if we'd never been separated, and over bitter diner coffee, she revealed the painful truth. Dad's departure wasn't voluntary, she explained. Your mother orchestrated his exit, maintaining an affair, and he crumbled afterward. Alcohol and despair claimed him in '89, alone and broken. Her voice wavered, triggering a surge of suppressed rage and sorrow within me. She clasped my hand, stating firmly, "You're different from him, Nathan. Don't let her destroy you too." Her words resonated deeply, inspiring a strategic approach. Step 1. Career change. I contacted Malcolm Reed in Boulder, accepting his standing offer. He responded immediately, offering a start date the following week with improved compensation. That was straightforward. The financial aspect proved more challenging. Despite my years of secret savings, our primary asset, the house, remained jointly owned. I needed to secure it beyond Celeste's reach. Enter Owen Brooks, my lifelong friend and financial expert who'd always distrusted her. We met at a grungy Aurora bar with sticky floors and poor lighting, where I outlined my situation. His response was a knowing grin and the words, "Let's create a paper trail she'll never decipher." By midnight, we'd established a shell corporation, and the next day's deed transfer was filed. The house remained technically hers to lose, but legally mine. Next came the SUV, her cherished possession, a sleek black machine she practically begged me to finance. I drove it straight to a dealership in Denver, fabricated a story about her wanting an upgrade, and walked away with a terminated contract and a check she'd never lay eyes on. Upon returning home, I strategically parked my weathered sedan in the driveway, a calculated distraction to keep her suspicions at bay. She remained oblivious, too engrossed in preparing for another evening out. I observed her departure, all dolled up in heels and crimson lipstick, feeling nothing but steely determination. My workplace provided another tactical advantage. I caught Victor and Bryce's careless conversation last month, boasting in the break room about manipulating a client deal for personal gain. Their oversight in letting their guard down around me proved costly. I captured the exchange on my phone, anticipating its future utility, and now that moment had arrived. I transferred the audio to a flash drive, dispatched it anonymously to Victor's wife, and patiently awaited the inevitable chaos. By yesterday, rumors circulated that she'd thrown him out, and his workplace demeanor had deteriorated to hostile outbursts directed at everyone except me. I maintained a low profile while internally savoring the victory. The situation took an unexpected turn last night. Celeste stumbled home at midnight, visibly shaken, her usual confidence conspicuously absent. She slumped onto the couch, trembling, and revealed her doctor's visit. She confessed to contracting something serious from one of her affairs, her voice barely audible. She gazed at me tearfully, pleading for reconciliation, acknowledging her mistakes, expressing her dependence on me. For a brief moment, I glimpsed that vulnerable girl from our first coffee date, genuinely frightened and human. But her earlier ultimatum echoed in my mind. "You can deal with it or I'm gone," reigniting my resolve. I positioned myself directly before her, maintained unwavering eye contact, and stated firmly, "Sign the papers. I'm finished." Despite her intensified pleading, I produced a check for $25,000. "Take it and leave," I declared. She alternated between staring at the check and me, fear finally registering in her expression. She snatched the check and fled upstairs, leaving me alone with the refrigerator's gentle hum and an overwhelming sense of liberation. Today, I secured a lease on a modest apartment near my children's school, embarking on a fresh chapter with Owen and Marissa's enthusiastic support. I packed essential items, temporarily leaving the rest, and departed under dawn's rose-tinted sky. Celeste believes she still holds power over me, but she's mistaken. I've evolved beyond being safe. I become dangerous. So, fellow listeners, the tables have turned completely, and I'm done playing defense. What happens next? While I have my theories, I'm more interested in hearing your predictions. Share your thoughts below, and let's see where this journey leads us. Until next time. Hey there, Nathan Carver here, broadcasting what will be my final episode from my garage in suburban Denver, a place I'll soon bid farewell to. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. In our last episode, I detailed how I finally outmaneuvered Celeste, secured the property, disposed of her vehicle, and presented her with divorce papers alongside a settlement she couldn't turn down. That was 7 days ago, and while the dust is beginning to settle, there are still a few remaining sparks to discuss. This marks the conclusion, or perhaps more accurately, the beginning of something new. Let's bring this story home. The divorce proceedings moved with unexpected swiftness. Celeste put her signature on the papers just 48 hours after that pivotal night on the couch, her trembling hands betraying her composure as she signed. I made myself scarce during her packing process. Owen managed the property sale, securing an impressive $620,000 for the Aurora residence, transferring the funds to an account well beyond her reach. I established educational trust for Jasper and Theo, settled my debt with Owen, and invested in a charming two-bedroom bungalow in Boulder, conveniently located just minutes from the boys' school. The property features a welcoming porch overlooking the Flatirons, and during my first morning there, I stood quietly with my coffee, watching the sunrise paint the mountaintops. For the first time in what felt like forever, I experienced genuine peace. My professional life has taken an exciting turn. The Boulder startup position has exceeded Malcolm Reed's promising description. My initial week was spent leveraging my intimate knowledge of Grayson and Sons' client portfolio. Through strategic communication, a carefully worded email here, a well-timed call there, we've successfully acquired half their major accounts. Reports indicate Victor's desperate cost-cutting measures, including massive layoffs, but his efforts seem futile. The leaked audio's impact on his wife's divorce filing has devastated his reputation, reducing him to a shadow of his former arrogant self. While Bryce maintains his swagger, I hear he's actively avoiding client interactions. I didn't need to orchestrate their downfall, the numbers spoke for themselves. Then there's Katrina Hale. Our paths crossed at Owen's backyard barbecue last weekend, where burgers sizzled on the grill and children's laughter filled the air. She's an environmental analyst with piercing eyes and a commanding presence, 2 years my junior, whose infectious laugh seems to brighten any gathering. Marissa orchestrated our introduction, confident in our compatibility, and her instincts proved spot on. We shared beers by the fire pit, where her tales of field research in the Rockies captivated me completely. Recently, we took Jasper and Theo on a camping adventure near Estes Park, setting up camp beneath a crystal-clear sky that seemed almost too perfect to be real. While the boys mastered the art of marshmallow roasting, Katrina guided them through a celestial tour, and I found myself experiencing genuine joy for the first time in ages. She's taking things at a natural pace, and I'm finding comfort in that approach. But Celeste wasn't ready to fade into memory. Just yesterday, while I was analyzing data at my new office, overlooking snow-capped hills, my desk phone interrupted the silence. Reception informed me that someone claiming to be my wife was demanding entry. My heart sank instantly. I instructed them to delay her while I grabbed my coat and made a hasty exit through the back door to my truck. Circling the parking lot, I spotted her, disheveled, wearing an oversized coat, pacing frantically by the entrance. She appeared unrecognizable, almost ghost-like, and I nearly hesitated. Then our eyes met, and she charged at my vehicle, pounding on the window. "You destroyed my life, Nathan," she rasped. "I lost everything because of you." I lowered the window slightly, maintaining my composure. "This was your doing, Celeste," I replied. "Your choices led here." She lunged forward, clawing at the glass, screaming, "I'll recover that money, every last cent." I remained stoic, accelerated away, watching her diminish in my mirror. Owen later reported she'd been interrogating neighbors about the house sale. Their ignorance is her dead end. The money secured, distributed between various investments and the boy's future, completely beyond her reach without divine intervention. Today brought more intel. A former colleague messaged me Celeste living with her parents in Lakewood, waiting tables at a seedy Colfax establishment. Her family barely acknowledges her, mortified by the town gossip that's reduced her name to a punchline. Bryce and her paramour vanished when the doctor's revelation spread, and her social circle evaporated instantly. She's isolated now, barely surviving, and I'll admit, witnessing her downfall stirs something in me. But her struggles are no longer my concern. Looking back, everything seems crystal clear now. I wasted precious years playing it cautious, convinced that's what love and family demanded. I endured the pain, pushed down my misgivings, all because I was terrified of following my father's path, of ending up shattered and absent. But I see now that he never failed me. He battled until his last breath, while I nearly destroyed myself doing exactly the opposite. Celeste bet everything on deception and avarice, and she lost it all. As for me, I rediscovered my inner strength, and this time it's here to stay. The message is clear. Life isn't about enduring endless hardship. It's about recognizing when to stop being a punching bag and take a stand. I have Jasper, Theo, Katrina, Owen, fresh employment, and a new place to call home. That's all I need. So, dear listeners, there you have it. My journey from rock bottom to redemption. Celeste faced her consequences, and I've found my inner peace. What resonates with you from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me how this narrative affected you. And if you've journeyed with me to this point, I'm grateful. It's been quite an adventure. Signing off now, but perhaps our paths will cross again. Stay well out there. Hey, Nathan Carver here, broadcasting one last time from my soon-to-be vacant garage in suburban Denver. Welcome to the final installment of this podcast series. In our previous episode, I outmaneuvered Celeste, secured my assets, and presented her with an inescapable ultimatum. That was 7 days ago, and I thought I had everything under control. But darkness doesn't dissipate easily, and this week delivered an unexpected twist. Let's wrap this up. The divorce was finalized by Tuesday. Celeste signed the papers in a notary's presence, her eyes bloodshot, mouth drawn tight, before disappearing with that $25,000 check like morning mist. Owen expertly orchestrated the Aurora house sale for $620,000, directing the proceeds through a labyrinth of accounts she'd never trace. I secured portions for Jasper and Theo's education, compensated Owen, and purchased a modest bungalow in Boulder, a compact haven with cedar-lined walls and mountain vistas. I relocated solo, moving boxes beneath a violet-tinged sunset, embraced by a silence that felt like liberation. My new position with Malcolm Reed began too, brimming with potential. I believed I was finally free, but I was about to learn otherwise. Thursday shattered that illusion. While analyzing data at the office, my phone vibrated with an unknown caller. Answering cautiously, I heard an unfamiliar, gravelly voice that sent chills down my spine. "You're not as clever as you think, Carver," it growled. "She isn't finished with you yet." The line went dead before I could muster a response, leaving me staring at my phone, my heart pounding. Could it be Bryce? One of her associates? I tried dismissing it as an empty threat, but that evening, a note appeared beneath my apartment door. Written in harsh strokes, it warned, "Check your truck." I rushed outside, panic rising, and discovered the damage. My sedan's tires were destroyed, the windshield shattered by a brick, with glass fragments scattered across the asphalt like fallen stars. The area was deserted, only pine trees swaying in the bitter wind. Someone was surveilling me, intent on instilling fear. Sleep eluded me as I kept vigil by the window, clutching a baseball bat, that menacing voice and note haunting my thoughts. At dawn, I contacted Owen for additional investigation. By midday, he'd uncovered something. Celeste had been seen at a seedy motel along I-25, throwing around money and inquiring about PIs. She wasn't surrendering or vanishing as I'd hoped. I enhanced security measures, traded the truck for a pre-owned Jeep at a Longmont dealership, and remained vigilant. Work became my sanctuary. I immersed myself in the new position, systematically luring Grayson and Sons clients through strategic calls, utilizing my existing data analytics. By week's end, Victor was hemorrhaging accounts, his rage evident in unheard voicemails. The audio evidence I'd shared with his wife had achieved its purpose, and rumors suggested he was now homeless, a shadow of his former arrogant self. Then Katrina Hale entered the picture. We met Saturday during Owen's casual barbecue, smoke drifting from the grill. An environmental analyst with steady composure and a sharp intellect. Her hazel eyes sparkled in the firelight during our conversation. We connected over shared interests in hiking and mediocre coffee, and Sunday found us taking the boys to Rocky Mountain National Park. Theo landed a trout, Jasper crafted a perfect campfire under the twilight sky, and Katrina's genuine laughter wove us together. Though nascent and delicate, this connection feels authentic, awakening emotions I'd forgotten existed. Celeste resurfaced Monday evening. As I was securing the office premises, the sudden screech of tires pierced the quiet. She careened into the parking lot, driving a dilapidated hatchback, launched herself out, and charged towards me with contorted features and a bottle clutched in her grip. "You destroyed everything," she shrieked, launching the bottle. I evaded just in time as it exploded against the wall, releasing waves of alcoholic fumes. She attacked, her fingernails slashing my forearm before I managed to seize her wrists and force her backward. "It's over," I declared firmly. "Leave now." She responded by spitting in my face, wrestling free, and bellowing, "I'll destroy you, Nathan, mark my words." Then she fled into the darkness as my colleague contacted law enforcement. They discovered her later, unconscious in her vehicle, with a partially consumed bottle of vodka beside her. Currently, she's residing with her parents, under supervision, serving tables at a rundown diner in Lakewood, her reputation a source of mockery among the regular patrons. The aftermath has been severe for her. She pursued destruction relentlessly, severing every relationship, and now stands alone, friendless, loveless, with family members who can barely face her. She'll forever shoulder that burden, the price of investing in deception and facing catastrophic losses. I've paid my share too, spending years in passive acceptance, allowing her dominance until I reach my breaking point. The message is unmistakable. Victory doesn't come from endless endurance, but from choosing your battles wisely. I have my children, a fresh beginning, and Katrina's steadfast presence. That's my new chapter. The story concludes here. Was the ending what you expected, or did it surprise you? Share your thoughts below. If this tale resonated with you, remember to like and subscribe for future stories. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next narrative.